I post this little video. Maybe it's obvious to some. I had a huge learning curve over 6 months ago, and I think this might be helpful to others struggling with high phone bills and maybe looking for something else. Here in the USA, you basically have the four large carriers. You have your Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint. But what a lot of consumers don't know, you actually have other options. MVNO, or Mobile Virtual Network Operator. Let me give you some examples of mobile virtual network operators. If on Sprint, Virgin Mobile, they are on Sprint. If on AT&T, H2O Wireless, Cricket Wireless. If on T-Mobile, Mint. If on Verizon, Total Wireless, Boom Mobile. These are just some examples of MVNO operators of the big four carriers if you were trying to save money on your phone bill. For anyone using the unlocked phone such as the HTC U11, make sure that MVNO is compatible with Voice over LTE or VoLTE. If you find a carrier that does not support VoLTE, you will not be able to make or receive phone calls. I had a horrible experience with Total Wireless back in July 2017 when I switched my phone number to Total Wireless with their SIM card on an HTC U11. I found LTE was working great. However, I could not make or receive phone calls except 911. At first I thought maybe it was taking a little while for the number to port over. However, 2 days later, I still didn't have a working phone number. Every time I tried dialing, the phone would instantly hang up. When I tried calling my number, the phone would not receive a phone call. I knew I had a problem. I called Total Wireless's tech support, which is in India. Thankfully, I still had a voice over Internet Protocol landline, UMA, to make the phone call, and I called them. They couldn't seem to figure out why my phone was not receiving phone calls, even though my LTE was working fine. The HTC U11 was rated to work fully compatible with Total Wireless, and they did not know why. I had to make several calls with Total Wireless. These phone calls would last over an hour at a time. Usually Total Wireless's simple solution was to power down the phone, remove the SIM card tray, put it back in, turn it back on, and every time I called them, that was the same stupid solution they offered every time. Power down the phone, turn it back on. It only didn't work. Then they would try to geolocate me to make sure they can figure where I'm at. I would tell them my location, they would be able to figure it out. They still did not know why I could not make or receive phone calls. The biggest problem with my phone not receiving or making phone calls was I did not have a working cell number, which meant anyone trying to call my number, they could not leave a voicemail, they could not contact me. This problem went on for 7 days. It was 7 days till I finally was able to port my number over to another carrier. The problem I figured out on my own, without Total Wireless's tech support help, was my phone, HTC U11, although rated for Verizon, was totally dependent on VoLTE, or Voice over LTE. The HTC U11 and a lot of newer unlocked phones do not have the older antenna, older phones known as CDMA support. Total Wireless entire tech support structure was reliant on CDMA. And finally, after several calls with Total Wireless's tech support, I specifically were asking them, do you support Voice over LTE? The India tech support would not want to answer that question. And I sense it wasn't just refusing to answer it, they really didn't know what that was. Voice over LTE. Finally, they acceded, they do not support Voice over LTE. What really was shocking was when they figured out they don't support Voice over LTE, there was no option for me to set up call forwarding or some other way for people to contact me we figured out my phone was not working with their system. Everything is dependent on your phone working with Total Wireless. You cannot have voicemail, you cannot have anything with another phone. I was accustomed to older cell carriers that you could use a landline to set up something if needed. Not with Total Wireless. Everything is dependent on your phone working with their system. As of January 2018, I have not found any reference to Android support of Voice over LTE with Total Wireless. So anyone considering Total Wireless with Android, look elsewhere. I am currently a customer of Boom Mobile that supports Voice over LTE. I have not had a problem with them since day one. And anyone considering MVNO of Verizon, I would totally recommend Boom Mobile.